on Instagram, which by the way, at Jeff M. Cohn on Instagram, if you want to pull out your phones really quick and follow me, at Jeff M. Cohn. Before I went on stage, I said to Gary, I go, hey, I'm trying to get over 10,000, so I'm certified. So I can like put links in my posts and stuff. Are you cool if I tell everyone to follow me on Instagram? He said, Jeff, I told you this when I recruited you, and I'll tell you this now before going in front of 20,000 people. There are no rules with me, so do whatever you want. So I was like, all right. So I wore our coaching hat, and I should put a KW Elite hat on for a minute. And I wore my KW Elite shirt, and then I told everyone to follow me on Insta, and he didn't care.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, Gary's great about that for sure. So, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I know your time is super valuable, and so we want to learn as much as we can from you today. Cool. So, first I have to say you're the man, the myth, and the legend, right? I hear that from your podcast. So,
Matt Johnson says that. I don't say that.
No, you don't say that, but I get to say that today. So this is Jeff Cohn, everybody. So he's incredible. And so tell us a little bit about your history, how you got started in real estate, and then your journey all along the way.
Cool. Am I going to be doing any of the keynote, like sharing my slides, or are we just going to chat today with Q&A?
You know what? You do whatever you want to do. Like, we're here to learn from you. So you just.
Yeah. And I just, so you guys all know, like, I think that what's cool about having a guest like this is to not just hear me talking and going on and on and on. Like, you can do that anytime listening to a podcast, searching it on YouTube. I think what's fun is you guys can ask questions. So I have a whole PowerPoint ready for you, but I would rather just talk and have you ask questions and engage with you guys that way. It's more fun for me. And I like you asking the hard, awkward questions that nobody ever wants to talk about, because we can do it in this setting. It's getting recorded, but we can delete it if we have to. So answering your question, I got my license in 2006. My mom actually got her license in 1987 when I started kindergarten. I'm 38 years old, so I grew up around real estate. I grew up around entrepreneurs. I got my undergrad degree in business with an emphasis in management. Spent 2 years in Brazil. I'm fluent in Portuguese, Spanish, and English, of course. And then decided to get into real estate as my career. A lot of people asked when I joined to sell real estate with my mom what I had done previous to real estate. And I always laughed and said, college? I'm like, what do you mean, what did I do before real estate? I'm 22, bro. So I went right into residential real estate and wanted to build a career out of it. My backup plan, if I didn't succeed, was to file bankruptcy. So I had 2 credit cards. We were like, we're going to max these things out. I'll file bankruptcy and move in the basement with my parents. And at the time I was married with a 6-month-old little girl. So of course my wife wasn't excited about that as the backup plan. And I knew I wasn't. I knew I'd succeed. I didn't know I would ever be where I am today, ever in a million years. But I knew I'd be successful selling houses. So my first year was 2007. I sold over 50 houses in Omaha with an average sales price of about $165,000 and netted 96 grand. And the very next year in 2008, I decided to take a third of my income and put it towards a full-time transaction coordinator so I could spend my time doing the highest income producing activities, which was outbound prospecting 80% of my time. And then 20% of my time was going on appointments to get exclusive buyer agency agreement signed and listing agreement signed. And I continued down that path. I added a few callers, generated more leads, started focusing more on listings versus buy sides. And quickly in 2011, realized that I was spending way too much time working and not enough time living and leading the life of my dreams. No one's dream is ever to be working. Working should be a means to an end to be able to live our dreams. And so there's lots of books and lots of podcasts and lots of things that help me shape my mindset around that. I'll give you guys a few today. The Dream Manager is a really good one if you haven't read it. The One Thing by Gary Keller, another really great one. The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, which sounds super morbid, but it's also a huge influencer in the way that I thought about the way I spent my time. And there's a lot of others that will probably pop up later as I talk. So we launched our team, Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group, in 2011. I have the hats for everything I talk about today. And we just retired the jersey when we joined KW to start our brokerage because we were going to have a really hard time recruiting teams into the market center if I left my team running, since we were doing a couple, 700 deals a year. So we went from 70 to 700 sides in 6 years as Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group, totaling 5,000 sales in my career for over $1 billion in volume. So here we are. It's 2020. We own a market center. Back in 2014, I quit selling and kind of applied the 7th level strategy, opening up parallel businesses in coaching. We have a group coaching product, Elite Real Estate Systems. We're actually in the process of partnering with MAPS Coaching to have a specific product just for KW agents. We have an investment company, Dynamic Properties, that buys about 10 houses a month. We keep about a third as full rentals. We've got about a $10 million rental property portfolio. We started a title company and an insurance company in 2016. I just launched a mortgage company 2 months ago, Exarban Mortgage, Exarban Insurance, Platinum Title. I have a call center in the Philippines called 1,000 Calls a Day. We've got over 100 full-time virtual callers. I just set up a second virtual call center for people that want to invest in real estate just a couple of weeks ago. And then my latest, greatest, most exciting venture that I like talking about right now is my digital marketing company called VRLY. It's getVRLY, VRLY.com. Couldn't have come at a better time. They focus on creating drone flyovers, gimbal fly-throughs, Matterport technology, which Matterport just released yesterday. You can now create Matterports with your phone, which is a game changer. You don't have to have a $3,000 camera. So our company takes the Matterport, we create a drone flyover using Google Satellite or an actual physical drone, and then give agents a branded link that they can use to market on social media. Sorry for the long answer.
No, that's amazing. So, okay, so now that you've come over to Keller Williams, you said you're kind of changed up your role, and this has been something I've been curious about. So what is your title and your role right now at KW Elite?
Yeah, so right now they have me as a temporary team leader. Eventually I'll be OP. But I've done everything I could since 2014 to stop being a part of my team and really being able to find talent and then help them be the best versions of themselves while allowing me to continue to grow and be the best version of my own self. I get bored in one lane. I needed more things. Like all the stuff I just rattled off, everyone's like, how would you ever do that? I just partnered with people to run all those businesses. I don't run any of those businesses. I play a role in all of them. I have a 1-hour alignment meeting with the CEO of each of those organizations. I check all the P&Ls. I check the weekly KPIs. We track everything analytically. So I make sure that all those businesses are running well. But I wanted my focus to be bigger picture. So I'm trying to get out of the local roles and just be in national roles of businesses that I think can scale 100x in my next 10 years. And my plan is to have the ability to be earning my dream income in 10 years when my youngest child graduates from high school, and to be able to spend 100% of my time doing the things I love. And it could be work, it could be play, whatever the case might be. And that's what I try to challenge all the people in all of my organizations to do as well, is figure out what the income would need to be to live and lead the life of their dreams, and then use the business they're working in as the vehicle to get there. And when it's not the vehicle, they need to leave and go find a vehicle. So my job has been to help people find what vehicle will help them generate the income to live and lead the life of their dreams. But the problem is a lot of people, especially even ones on this call today, have no idea what that dream life looks like. They're just in survival mode, especially now, in the middle of a pandemic. We're just in a survival mode. It's like dream life. I don't have time to think about a dream life. Well, if you start putting a little bit of focus on that and making decisions every day, week, month, quarterly, and yearly over the course of long periods of time, like I have over the last 13 years, you can live a life you never dreamed of. And I can speak to that because that's what I've done.
Absolutely. And I love that about you. And that's why I listen to you every time a new podcast comes out. I make sure that I listen because, man, you're such a big thinker and so inspirational. And I too have been trying to really think about stepping out of day to day because of you. And so that's why now everybody knows why I'm so excited to be visiting with you today, because you're pretty incredible. So what are some conversations that you do have with your people in order to help them think about a bigger and better life? Because that is hard for a lot of people to think beyond maybe this year or 3 years out.
I think the biggest challenge is people don't want to accept responsibility for anything. There's a good friend of mine, David Goggins, and I've never met him. I call him a friend because I've listened to him talk so much. He wrote the book Extreme Ownership, and then he came out with the book Can't Hurt Me. And what I took from that, it's pretty harsh and hardcore for those that don't like that kind of content. But what I've taken from his mindset is that we really truly control everything. And so if you act as like you're a victim, you truly are. You are what you believe you are. But if you want to be successful, just be successful. Make the choice and do it. If you want to get your workout in today, go get your workout in today. Don't make excuses. And so I feel like I've done a good job being able to convey that to the people that follow me and respect me without hurting their feelings. And there's a really delicate line there. Being a 99D, 99I, it kind of gives me the ability to be aggressive, but yet do it in a nice way. So everyone leaves smiling. And I think the onus is on a true leader to help their followers be the best versions of themselves while giving them a role or a pathway to be just like the leader. And too often in like corporate America, everyone's threatened. There's a scarcity mindset because the people under you might end up doing as well as you, or possibly even better than you. I want everyone to do better than me, but I just want to stay in their world while they are doing better. And I want to continue to elevate myself as a leader so I can always bring value to them. And at the point that I can't, then I'll follow them. So I don't feel I don't feel threatened. I hope somebody does better than me. I don't have the time to go into one thing. I hope everyone around me is doing better than me at the things that they're doing.
That's incredible. I love that. So one thing that I know about you is you have awesome habits throughout your life. And that's really what helps give you discipline and helps keep you super successful, because you're doing so many things, so much more than all of us. So tell us about the habits that you have on a daily, weekly, monthly level that help you live the life that you're currently living.
Yeah, I would love to answer that one. And also I'll throw out to the groups. I know a lot of you are engaged right now watching and listening. Feel free to put any questions in the chat. Lindsey, I'm speaking for you, but you guys can rock out questions there. Lindsey will be watching the chat, or if there's anyone else here helping Lindsey. Sometimes it's hard to do the interview and look at the chat at the same time. So I am not looking at the chat. You guys can say whatever you want about me. I won't know.
I am now, so go on and put it in there. Thank you for that.
Perfect. What I will say is that great things are accomplished by doing small and simple things every single day. And a lot of people don't believe that, but you start adding numbers up. Like I read a book, Smart Couples Finish Rich by David Bach when I was 21 years old. And I was engaged, I think. And it was all about, they addressed something called the Latte Factor. And the Latte Factor then was that a cup of coffee then, and this is like 15 years ago, costs around $5. So you get a cup of coffee every day, no big deal. It's $5. So that's $25 a week, $100 a month, $1,200 a year. Well, if you had taken the $1,200 and put it in a typical interest-bearing, account, $1,200 plus $1,200, well, it's accruing interest, $1,200, and I don't remember what the number totals. The point being, make coffee at home and look at where you would be 30 years from now. And I think about that with lead gen. So how many of us make 2 calls a day, 5 calls a day, 10 calls a day? And do we do it consistently day after day, week after week, month after month? It applies to workouts. It applies to time with your kids, time with your significant others, time walking your dog. All of the things we want to be great at, we assume to be great, we have to spend 5 hours a day on it. And what I found is you can actually spend 5 minutes a day on a myriad of things and become an expert at them, just because you simply took the small approach over a long period of time, rather than telling yourself it has to be the big approach over a short period of time, and then you never do it.
Right. Consistency over time, right? So tell us about your morning habits, because I know you talk about your morning a lot, and that's something I know on our team we talk about a lot. We're all trying to master, and it's a little bit harder for a lot of us right now. So tell us about your mornings.
Yeah, so there's a quote, I don't know who said it. If you guys know, let me know, but it's the difference between you and me are the books that you read, the people you spend time with, and the podcasts that you listen to. I added the podcast part when I launched my podcast 5 years ago, which is, by the way, the Team Building Podcast on iTunes.
It's awesome.
5-star, give me a 5-star rating if you guys have a second. I'm trying to get to 1,000 reviews. I'm at 100 right now. So in the mornings, every single morning I work out. I have a group, and this is another thing. If you want to make sure you stay consistent, have a group of people that meet together. So if you want to work out, if you want to make sure you're making your prospecting calls, if you want to make sure you're reading books, get a book club, get a prospecting club, get an accountability club, and have an expert in every area that you want to become greater at, that you have on speed dial. So they might not be someone you're paying to be your nutritionist, but you at least have 2 or 3 people that know a lot about food, that love talking about diet and nutrition and everything, that you could call when and if you have a question. So every morning I get up around 6:30 a.m. I get my energy drink going. I drink like these little Axio powders, and I go out to my outbuilding. I turn on music. I'll listen to a podcast while music's playing, just so I can take it off and listen to music in between. And then I usually have a group of people that will meet at my house at 7 for the workout. Usually every day after my workout's over, I'll have listened to about 20 to 30 minutes of the podcast. I'll have gotten a great workout in. And then I usually spend about 15 minutes in my hot tub. My hot tub time, which is right off my back deck. And I do this year round, no matter the temperature, and it gets cold in Nebraska. But that's my meditation time. So it's just time for me to be alone and think, process what my day looks like, and prepare emotionally for everything I've coming up. So I knew last night I looked at my calendar, and today I was like, oh, good, cool. I'm on the group call, and it gives me some time to myself to think about what I want to talk about. And then I plan my day typically in 30 to 45 minute increments, depending on the things I want to accomplish. And so I literally have days and hours of days dedicated to the different things that I want to accomplish in a 12-month period. So I end the year thinking, okay, what do I want to accomplish next year? Okay, if I want to weight loss as an example, I know I'm going to need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, not just say it, I'm actually going to plan for it. So there's a specific time for a workout, specific time for eating, specific time for drinking my water. There's analytics that go along with it. Who's tracking me? Who's holding me accountable? Where am I putting the data? And all of what I do, I track in Sisu, sisu.co. It also has there's an API we're building with Command, but there's an API with all the different CRMs out there if you're using Sync or Boomtown. But ultimately, it tracks agents' call temps and contacts and all that. But it also tracks, did you do meditation? Did you take your spouse on a date? Did you call your mom on Mother's Day? Whatever. You can track anything and everything. You create custom fields. So building out a day that's going to be a day for success. And then it's my goal every evening to be home and put my phone away and spend time with my family, look my kids in the eyes. And again, it doesn't need to be 3 hours and I'm dad of the year, which I never have been that. It's just 10 minutes of looking them each in the eye and saying, hey, tell me about your day. What were some of the challenges? We play a game called High-Low at dinner. We do sit together every day as a family for dinner. And they say, what's the best thing that happened in their day? And what's the worst thing that happened in their day? And that's small and simple act over days, weeks, years, months. It's a lot of content. You end up learning a lot about everyone at the table. I get to do it as well. And it gives everyone opportunities to self-reflect, because how often does someone say, what's the best thing that happened to myself today, for gratitude? And then what's the worst thing that happened and why did it happen? It gives you an opportunity as a parent to kind of go through that. And then after kids go to bed or everyone kind of starts to wind down, that's kind of my selfish time. And I'm an addict to business and social media, all business specific, not anything personal really. And I'll go on and that'll be my time to check my social media feeds, to check my emails, to kind of get through some of that. And I have time for that during the day as well, but that's my fun time to get to actually see the comments people make on, episodes like this one. And I would always have a show playing in the background, like binge watching Ozarks or rewatching, anything on Netflix. I don't watch movies, but all TV shows playing or the news while I'm on my phone. But just the show in and of themselves, I don't know if other high Ds feel the same way. They never keep my attention. So I always have both going. When I'm talking and hanging out with my wife, I try not to have both going.
Right. And I have the same struggle. So I'm I have to, I don't know. It's hard to focus on just a TV show for sure. So I love that you have that structure. That's definitely, I love it. That's my love language. I really want to be just that discipline. So have you always been this way, or has this been a journey for you to get so scheduled and on point at all points of the day?
Yeah, I've definitely not always been this way. I truly believe I subscribe to the idea that every day I want to become a better version of myself. To me, that's where happiness comes from. It's not easy to be happy. It's not easy to be successful. Success takes work. Happiness takes sacrifice. And I've learned that I'm the happiest when I structure my day this way. Now, are there days? I'm a 99I. I just spent 6 weeks in Kauai. We just got home a week ago. So I still worked a ton, but I was in a different physical location. Certain things couldn't happen while I was there. I'm okay saying, hey, I'm going to go golf today, clear my calendar and go golf all day and not worry about the structure. So I purposely plan for structured days where I have to get certain things accomplished, but I also plan for all my fun too, which is an important note for anyone that just got exhausted by me talking about my schedule. I choose to do all those things. I wouldn't have to do any of those things. But I also plan my fun. I have lots of fun. I travel every 3 weeks. I'm always going around places. Anytime I go speak somewhere, I'm doing whatever is the most fun thing to do in that location. I'm spending money on whatever I want to spend money on to have, if for things that cost something, and I'm not scared to do it. Life's short. We get one shot. It's if I'm in Charleston, I'm probably going to go fish for reds with, Dewey Gullum. If I'm in, Denver, I'm going to try to go skiing, 45 minutes up into the mountains with somebody that I know while I'm there. So I've scheduled time for every factor, everything that I want to be successful at. And that's part of the living and leading the life of your dream.
Absolutely. I love that. Life by design. That's so important. And it takes work. If you want to live that big life, then we got to have structure at least 80% of the time, I feel like. So I love that. So right now, with everything that's going on in the world, I hate to be negative, but we have, the world is crazy right now. So have you had any problems with your mindset lately, or what are you doing every day to just make sure that you're, keeping that mindset positive and leading your people the best way possible every single day?
Sure. Yeah. First off, the world's always crazy. Nothing changed with that.
That's right.
What happens in an economic shift is it gives people an excuse to say that they're not successful because of the shift. And the truth is that in a shift, that's when one can become the most successful, because most of the other people are creating stories that create limitations that make it so that they feel okay sitting at home in their pajamas and not doing anything. So what I've experienced in the last shift, which I worked in 2007 through 2011 and saw that, what I've experienced in the last shift and what I've seen in this shift is that the people that worked hard before this are working hard right now. The people that didn't aren't. So typically, if you really take an opportunity to self-actualize and look at yourself with Lane, Tiffany, Leanne, Shannon, Marcy, you look yourself in the mirror and ask, what did you do to get to where you are today? If you keep doing exactly what you've done, you'll continue staying exactly where you are. And that's okay. If you're happy with where you are, that's awesome. High five. I'm jealous. I wish I was okay with where I was. I have to live with this personality, and I'm always wanting more and always scaling and always pushing, and it's probably not healthy. But if you are the type that wants more and you are upset when you wake up and you see your backyard and you're looking at a brick wall and you wanted to have a 60-acre field behind you, or you get into your $10,000 car and you wish you were getting into a $100,000 car, or you're not saving money for your kids' school and you always wished you could and said you would, but you're not, that's all on you. You have to change your activities every hour to every day, every quarter, every year to be able to have a different result. Albert Einstein has the quote, and I'll debauch it, so I'm not going to say it, but it's something to the extent of like the solutions to get to where we are today aren't going to be the solutions where we want to go tomorrow. And I think a lot of times people aren't willing. It's not that they're lazy. The laziness isn't in the fact that they're not willing to execute on the activities to be successful. The laziness is that you're too scared to look yourself in the mirror and ask, what more could I be doing? And instead of doing that, you make excuses as to why you're where you are. But the only true reason is because you haven't been willing to do more.
Absolutely. And maybe sometimes too, the vision for their life isn't big enough. Because I do feel like in times, especially like this, like it's so important to know what it is that we're wanting out of life, and just be reminded, because it is hard. It's a little bit harder right now for a lot of people. So
well, it's interesting, like even like the sentiment of it's not, the vision for their life isn't big enough. After reading the top 5 regrets of the dying, it's really enlightening to see like what are the things people end up regretting. No one regrets I didn't work more. No one says I wish I had worked more. They do say I wish I had taken that trip, or I wish I'd spent more time with my mom who ended up passing younger than I thought she would, or there's things like that those are the things when people say, what do you fear? I fear looking back and having regrets. And so the best way to study what you think who you'll be in 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, pick a person that's like the type of person you think you'll be in 15 or 20 years from now, and ask them if they were you, what they would have done differently. And I had that foresight even at 22 when I graduated college. I interviewed 20 people. I called them informational interviews, and we'd sit down for an hour and I picked their brains on if they were me at 22. And these were 40, 50, 60-year-old people that I deemed successful, that I wanted to be like when I grew up. And I asked all of them at the end selfishly, what would you do if you were me? I'm in this situation. I could do anything I wanted, right? The world was my oyster. And everyone said, don't work for anyone, work for yourself. You've got the spirit and the drive, you're going to be successful. So once I chose to get into real estate, I did the same thing. I interviewed 15 or 20 top agents in my market. Once I launched our team, I did the same thing. I interviewed over 100 agents all across the country, a lot of KW agents, all top teams, to say, hey, I'm starting a team. I was just an individual at the time in 2011, and I wanted to be the best team in the country. That was my goal. And we ended 2019 number 1 team in the world at Berkshire Hathaway. Now I want to be number 1 at KW. It's always the goal to get there. The fun is in the journey. Once you're there, it's like, meh, all right, I'm there. Yay, high five. It's not like anything. I'm speaking from experience. Like getting there is nothing. It's the fun part is the journey that leads you to that place, because you changed in the journey. Getting there doesn't change you. It's the process of getting there that actually changes you, and that's what's fun.
Absolutely. Well, we do have a question for you from maybe Tara. So it says, as you were looking to open up other businesses, do you want the businesses that you just launched to be at a certain point? What are the things that you look at as a new business to make sure it's successful?
That's a really good question. A lot of agents ask me this about exiting the business, because my goal for every agent is that they have the option to stop selling real estate and focus on just working on their business, kind of like Millionaire Real Estate Agent talks about. So for me, when I chose to stop selling, I had to get my team to a place where I netted off of my team the same amount I netted in my best year when I was selling. And so I was able to slowly stop selling as the team slowly kept making me more net. So for me, the actual number was about $250,000. So I was earning about 330 back on my last full year in 2011. I netted 330,000, which I was happy with, but I was working 80 hours a week. So I wanted to do something different. So I worked even more hours to get the team up and running. A lot of people think you start a team, you don't have to work. I worked harder than I had ever worked with the end goal that I would be able to take myself out. And 3 years later, we went from 70 to 240 sides in 12 months. And then went from like 25% growth after that. Like we went to like from 240 to 350 and 350 to 425. And we continue to grow. So the long answer to a very short, easy question is I had to always make sure I found the right people to continue growing the company. I didn't want it to just stay stagnant. I wanted it to continue to flourish. So when is the best time for you to exit? It's when you've found your replacement. You probably heard that before. Somebody else that can take over the reins and build the organization greater than what it was when you were there. And financially, fiscally, that's always everyone's biggest concern. You're not going to lose income. So you need to build it out in such a way that allows you to continue making the same amount of money or more money and work less hours. And that's my goal for every person, is to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of energy. That's the same thing I tell clients. That's the same thing I tell recruits, that in our world, our goal for everyone is to make more money, less time, less energy. So if you do something that is making you less money, more time, more energy, that's probably the wrong activity unless you're doing it as a short-term sacrifice to get to a larger end goal.
Love that. That was awesome. Okay, we have another question for you. So have you implemented any new habits during the quarantine?
Yeah, I did. In Hawaii, you couldn't be on the beach. Even till right now, you're not allowed to be on the beach. So that was kind of disappointing. And I was doing calls all the time. I probably averaged 8 hours of calls a day, and that includes Zoom calls like this one. But I kept doing them from the condo, and there's kids there, and they're all on Zoom because they're doing Zoom school. My kids are 14, 12, 10. And so I decided to just start walking and talking. And I'd find hours would pass. I did 11 miles one day walking. And I would look back and I'm like, I don't even remember taking this turn. Like, I didn't even think about it. And I put 70 miles on my Strava app while we were there over the 6 weeks. So walking was one of the things that at home I lift weights. I like CrossFit type of workouts, and I didn't have a gym there. It closed. I had a gym as part of the condo regime, and it closed. And I hate doing body weight stuff. So I just started walking instead. So I picked up walking, but I totally have quit doing that since I got home a week ago. And now I'm just using my CrossFit gym.
There you go. Well, hey, you live and you learn, right? So, okay, we have another one too. It says, what's the biggest challenge that you have in terms of maintaining your daily structure, or while you were trying to get into the routine of building structure?
The hardest thing is when you have many hats, you juggle a lot of things, and something has to give, right? We all have the same amount of awake time. I think it's about, if you sleep 6 hours a night, someone that's great at math can run this real quick, but I think you're awake. I never believed it when I heard someone else say this, but I think you're awake 126 hours a week if you sleep 6 hours a night. And it's so funny because we're all programmed to talk about 40-hour work weeks. Show me a realtor that is making good money doing 40-hour work weeks when you're truly, if you like an attorney would hit a little stopwatch every moment you're working on your business. I bet it's around 80. But what's fascinating to me is if you look at people's time spent with prospecting, which is the most important activity, our agents have been reporting those numbers analytically since the launch of our team. In 2011. So 9 years, we have analytics surrounding their prospecting efforts. And the average agent within our organization spends 1 hour a week prospecting. And on a Mojo line, you can make about 100 dials in that 1 hour. And we know out of 100 dials, you'll get 20 people to pick up. 1 out of 5 pick up. And out of the 20 people that pick up, 2 of them, 1 out of 10, will agree to an appointment. And it takes 3 appointments to generate 1 lead. So we've broken it all the way down to, I know that's 150 call attempts to sell 1 house. Average commission in our market, $6,000. We usually keep 50% if it was a lead we generated. So the agent makes 3. So we were able to reverse engineer taking an agent's income goal based on the life they want to live. We could reverse engineer exactly what they had to do every day in terms of outbound prospecting to get a certain result. And so we know to make $100,000 a year in Omaha with an average sales price of about $220,000, an agent needs to make about 105 calls a week. And so back to your time thing, everyone has to report to us every week in a group setting how many calls, what their call goal was, how many calls they actually ended up making, how many contacts they had, how many appointments they went on, how many contracts they executed, how many new listings they took, and then how much total time it took them to do all of those things. So back to my comment about it being fascinating. It's so fascinating to me how people spend so little time on things when there's so much of it. And so you have to structure, when you have so many things you're juggling, you have to structure your time in such a way that you're activated and working on the things that are, again, the highest income producing activities. Where will you get the greatest return on your time and on your investment, with the least amount of energy, the least amount of wasted time. And I think that's where people struggle, is that whole Alec Baldwin quote on Glengarry Glen Ross, where he says, coffee's for closers. So many people leave the house and say, I'm going to work. Were they? Are you? Did you? When you get home, what did you do? And that's the question I ask people in my world. Like, what'd you do today? Well, I don't know. I was in the office and They wasted a lot of time. What's been awesome about the pandemic and a lot of people being forced to work from home is now everyone's getting to see their significant others, their kids, their moms, their dads, whatever, for who they truly are. You get to see how they spend their time. So my family watched me work 12-hour days in Hawaii. Everyone at home thought I was on vacation. Everyone in my family said, Dad, I saw you work more than you've ever worked. I didn't work any more than I'd ever worked. They just got to see it for the first time, because they weren't following me to the office, watching me do 10 hours of Zoom calls. They assumed I was like everybody else that goes to the office and spends half a day golfing, or out to lunch for 2.5 hours, or at the coffee station. People that succeed at a high level aren't wasting time. They're highly efficient with the way that they spend their time.
Absolutely.
Let me say one more thing. So when we go through that report on those numbers analytically, and we've done this for over $1 million ad spend that's generated over 100,000 leads, and we convert those leads at 2%. What we ask them if they don't make their call attempt. So they'll say our call goal is 104 because they want to make a 6-figure income. If they say they only made 75 dials, instead of saying, why didn't you make your calls, Lindsey? We say, hey, Lindsey, you didn't make your calls. What item would you like to take off your vision board today? That's the only question we have to ask, because it's not going to affect me. I'm going to make my money either way. I've got 1 million different businesses. I'm going to be okay. I'm here to help Lindsey be the best version of herself. And if you didn't hit your call goal, who does that hurt? It hurts her kids, her spouse, her parents, her family, everyone in her world she's promised that she was going to accomplish something. It's not my problem. I've provided her the vehicles to be successful, the training, the accountability, the coaching, the motivation, the systems, everything. It's her problem if she doesn't choose to do it. And a lot of us make excuses as to why we don't, but there should be no excuses. There's 126 hours a week that we're awake. I think we can make a couple hours of prospecting calls. Gary said we should be making 4 hours a day of prospecting calls.
Yeah. So we could easily, everybody could do 1 to 2 for sure.
You don't need 4 hours. I'm going to disagree with Gary Keller. That's too many hours. Like, you don't need that. It depends on how much money you want to make, but you really only need to spend an hour making prospecting calls. But maybe he says, say 4 hours. And then if people do an hour, he knows they'll make themselves a 6-figure income and become cappers in his organization. So you only need an hour a day if you truly prospect for that hour and you don't waste your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, like, what is the message that you guys are getting out to your database about, why it is still a good time to buy and sell?
Yeah, to the consumer. If anyone wants to see our messaging, you can go out to kwelite.com, click on blog, and I have a blog for clients and I have a career blog. A big part is just letting people know we're staying busy. We had a record month last month in March. 2 months ago. We expect things are going to slow down a little bit. But what I've forecasted and what I predict is that we are going to see a Q3 that looks like a Q2 and a Q4 that looks like a Q3. And then no idea how things are going to play out next spring. I think that things are going to be strong. I think a lot of people are going to realize they hate their house now that they've been in it for like 3 months straight. You're going to see, and I hate to say it, but you're going to see divorces probably, I think, more so than you would expect. And then you're going to see new babies more so than you'd expect. All of these events are going to require people to have houses. Thank goodness real estate's one of those industries where in most states we are a essential class. And so we can keep doing our jobs, and interest rates are at an all-time low. Like, this is the best time ever to be in real estate. So when people say, oh, I'm just going to wait and I'm going to get my check from the government and I'll wait till this whole thing passes. That's fine. You're going to have the same success that you've had your last 5 years combined, if that's the method that you want to go. But if you choose to be different than everyone around you and you actually plug in for even 8 hours a day, you don't have to be like me at the 10 or 12 hour mark. Go 8 hours hard every single day. You'll be different than everybody else, and you'll start lining up those dominoes. So when things do come back online in a month, this isn't a year later, right? When things start turning back on in a month or 2 months, you've got all this business and you're cranking them out and you're living the dream, hitting numbers that you never dreamed possible because you did something different than everybody else.
Love it. So important. So I know, Jeff, one thing about you that I feel like has been pretty big in your success. I know you've had a pretty impressive weight loss journey in your past. And so I know
Yeah.
that a lot of us, care about. We love to hear inspirational things about that as well. So tell us a little bit about your personal journey through like getting healthier and then what that did for your professional life and
Yep. Well, I think
whole rest.
getting healthier is the best thing to say because, obviously people have different opinions, but being healthy is a lot bigger than just the weight, on a scale. I've lost 100 pounds 3 times in my life. And I come from a family, I can make all the excuses I want, but our metabolisms are really slow. So if we're eating high salty, starchy, carbohydrate foods, we gain weight really easily. So I actually put on probably 15 pounds in Hawaii, despite the fact that I walked so much. And I chose not to focus on my weight in Hawaii and just enjoy myself. But in that journey, everything what's so fascinating to me is everything that applies to systems and processes and tracking and analytics and being consistent on the small things over long periods of time. Unfortunately, and fortunately, because it is controlled, that applies to weight loss. If you want to build a muscle, you can't just go hit the weights hard once a year. You have to do it consistently over long periods of time. If you want to lose belly fat, you have to do sit-ups and eat really well. 90%, it's the 80-20 rule. But it's 80% of the diet is what really impacts it. So I've learned for myself, and everyone has different beliefs, and just like with religion, everyone has different beliefs around diets. What's true is that all of our bodies are different. Everyone responds differently to our environments. So there's a lot of different factors that come into play. What I learned was sleep was a big player for me. So if I could get over 7 hours, I was able to lose weight. But if I got less than 7 hours of sleep, I wouldn't lose weight, which I thought was really interesting. Diet was a huge part. I did 0 carb to very low carb diet. So just like the jerf, just eat real food, very low fruits, but lots of vegetables, lots of different meats, nuts, eggs, and then trying to be out in the sun, take vitamins that were supplements that my nutritionist had recommended, like vitamin D, zinc, magnesium. I don't know how much more detailed you want to get, but essentially I had to figure out for myself what I'd recommend to anyone else. And this applies to anything. I had to figure out for myself what I felt comfortable doing and what I thought was going to work. And so any result you want to get in your life, you don't have to follow anyone else's game plan. You can have my business plan, go to jeffsbusinessplan.com. That's my business plan. Go build your own business plan. So what I tell all my coaching clients is that what I've subscribed to is learning about patterns and watching and understanding analytics, and then figuring it out for myself the way I want to do it in my area. You don't have to do anyone else's plan. And that's one of the top 5 regrets of the dying, is that people lived the life that someone else wanted them to live. You became the person your spouse wanted you to be, or you became the person that your mom and dad wanted you to be. And that was a big regret people had later in life. So I'll tell everyone listening, go do the business the way you want to do it. Quit real estate if you want to quit. Go into commercial. Try to become the team leader. Take Lindsey's job. Do whatever you want. Start working towards it and have goals set to become the best version of yourself. You'll be the happiest if you try it. Even if you fail and you never end up being like Ben Kinney or Tim Heil or Gary Keller, it's okay. You don't need to be those guys. You don't need to be me. You just need to be the best version of you. That's all that matters. And if you can truly say you gave it your best and you did all the things you believed were going to help you become the best version of yourself, then how could you fail?
Love that. And it all spills over, right? So when you're on the health journey, it spills over into business, into your marriage, and just,
Well, and in the one thing Gary mentioned, I believe it was the one thing, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but he talks about how people think that to be well-rounded means they have to have equal amount of time in all the buckets. There is no way to have equal amount of time in every bucket if you want to have certain results in certain areas. So sometimes I'm more focused. When it becomes winter and I'm in hibernation, that's when I lose the most weight, which usually for people it's opposite. In the summer, when I'm social and I'm going outside, someone said tan fat is happy fat. I don't know if you've ever heard that one before. I got super tan in Hawaii. I was super happy. So I get fat in the summer and I lose a bunch of weight in the winter, but it's all based on what you focus on, right? Results are going to come from the things that you choose to focus on. And it's hard to be great at everything. So you got to pick the things that matter most in this time, in the period of life that you're at.
Yeah, love that. Okay, we have another question for you. So this is a big question. So why did you make the change to KW? And then why did you feel that you needed to restructure your team in order to make that move?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I started feeling pressure that I needed to start a brokerage probably in 2015, 2016. I had a team over 20 agents at the time. When I came over to KW, we were about 30, 35, and I've been all the way up to 45 at one point in 2017. I wanted a brokerage. And the number one reason is if you own a brokerage, that's the highest value if you want to ever sell it. So when you're an individual agent, there's not really any value there from a selling your business standpoint, other than maybe referring your deals from your sphere at a 25% referral fee. When you own a team, it's about a 1x valuation. So if you have a team of 10 agents and you net $1 million a year, let's say your team nets $1 million a year, that's worth about $1 million. But when you own a brokerage, there's a lot of other buyers out there that want to buy a brokerage, because the big difference with most teams versus brokerages is the brokerages are built to grow without the owners, whereas teams have to have the owner or the rainmaker at the helm if it's going to be successful. And most brokerages, you correct me if I'm wrong in KW land, but I think they're getting about a 3x right now. So if you have a brokerage netting $1 million a year, that brokerage is arguably worth around $3 million. So I knew my exit strategy one day would be to own multiple brokerages, and I'd want to sell them. It just mattered. The timing was all that mattered in terms of when was the right time to jump over and own my own brokerage. The bigger picture response would be nationally. I have a lot of other ancillary businesses that I wanted to scale outside of Nebraska, including my investment arm, my insurance company, my mortgage company, and my digital marketing company. And so I wanted to go into an environment that identified with the things I identified with, that had the same thinking process that I had. And I felt like out of all the brokerages, Keller Williams was the one that was most in line with how I thought, what I believed in, the value system, analytics, I mean, everything culturally. You read the one thing. We have that as a requirement to join our team, is you have to read the one thing. Why did my team go away? So we retired Omaha's Elite's jersey because we felt like if we were a brokerage that also had my team at it, that agents would feel like there was a conflict of interest and it would be hard to grow. I would have no problem building a team later, but I felt like it made sense for us to take our team, retire its jersey, and the team became the brokerage. And literally in the last 60 days, I've recruited an additional 60 agents. So we're averaging an agent a day right now. So we're up to about 80 or 90 agents across like 3 or 4 different satellite locations and going. I think we'll be over 200 agents by the end of next year. And we're growing super fast because people want to adopt the models that I was implementing as a team. I always ran my team like a brokerage, but the truth is most brokerages need to run their brokerage like a team if the team's being ran the right way.
Right. Absolutely. Love that. Okay, so let me see what else I have here for you. Okay, so as far as you've mentioned a lot of great books for us. So what other books, since we have a little bit more time on our hands right now, especially in the evening, what are some books that would be like the best, biggest game changers other than one thing?
It always is. I always ask people when they ask for a book recommendation, what are the challenges they're facing today? Because what I felt is like the books, you need to pick a book up to answer a question. I think I heard Gary actually say this. I went to an event in Austin about 5 years ago when I was at Keller Williams. And I think he said that once the book answers your question, put the book down and go to another book. Like you don't have to read a book from cover to cover. A lot of times people think that. Find a book that's going to answer a problem maybe that you're facing. So if you don't want to have regrets and you're wondering, are you going to look back on your life and wish you had done things differently, go read the top 5 regrets of the dying. If you get something out of it and you think, I got enough out of this book, I'm going to put it away. That's okay. You don't have to finish it. I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. So it really just matters where a person's at. And I actually read them old school. I know a lot of people like to listen while they're working out. I like to listen to podcasts. I never watch a podcast, even though I do record mine on video. I can't watch people talking. It's worse than anything. But I can listen to it while I work out. So I like to read, and I find that when I read it, I remember it a lot better than when I listen to it. So like seeing the chapters and seeing the words, I don't have a photographic memory, but I feel like it helps me to remember things and retain information better. And I usually will read in downtimes where my phone doesn't work. There's not very many places that's the case. So on an airplane, feel like that's probably the only one. I'm not reading in church. So like I'm in lots of airplanes though. So I spend a lot of time when I'm on an airplane reading. So it was a little bit of a book read dodge. Is there a specific problem or challenge anyone's facing that they want me to address some books that might solve those problems?
I feel like a lot of people, I'm looking in the chat box here, but if anybody has anything, I'll put it in there. But what about like mindset as far as, I think
the 5 dysfunctions of a team is a really good one if you want to be a leader that runs a team. If you're kind of thinking, should I have a team? This book will kind of help you understand the importance of knowing who you are first and foremost, so you know what role on the team you best play. A lot of people assume when they see another team that they need to be the team leader, when the truth might be you might need to find someone that's the team leader and you serve as the operations person, or you serve as the recruiter or the marketing person, or just an agent. You could own the team and be an agent that's full-time, and someone else builds and runs the team for you. So a lot of people have a false idea, I guess, as to what that looks like. Another really good book, and then right now it would be very applicable, is 7 Levels of Communication by Michael Mayer. And so Michael's book is perfect for right now. It talks about how to best engage your sphere of influence, what the best ways are to ask for referrals, by giving referrals. And so that's been a pretty influential book for us as well.
Perfect. Awesome. So you touched on teams for a minute, and I know you're a team guy, but we have different people on this call. So some that own teams or on teams, solo agents, the whole gamut. And so tell me what you think, like your overall thought about teams is, and where you see teams in real estate going in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I feel like teams, obviously they've taken off in the last 10 years. When I launched my team in 2011, it still was a little new, especially outside of Keller Williams. So a lot of people in Keller Williams don't really know what's going on outside of Keller Williams, just like anyone in any organization. Since I've done so much masterminding and hosted so many podcast episodes, have been a person on someone's podcast, I really feel like I've gotten a good feel for what's going on within each brokerage. Most traditional brokerages are not supportive of teams. They see teams as a threat internally because they know they're taking advantage of their agents by giving them horrible split structures. And so if they allow someone to have a team, eventually they expect that team's going to leave to join Keller Williams or EXP or one of the others that is more team supportive. And so brokerages are literally not creating team structures or team comp plans because they feel threatened that team will eventually leave them. And that's exactly what I experienced at the brokerage I just came from. We were the number 1 team in the world and didn't feel like we were getting the support that we needed to be successful, not just locally, but nationally. I don't know of another brokerage that has an expansion platform that's actually designed by the broker. People have had to figure that out on their own. So Keller is actually supportive, not every location, but mostly. Overall, Gary talks about expansion teams and allows you to build a hub that lets you take something great that you built in your location and expand it to another. The teams are way better. I feel like more responsive, reactive to different situations. They can be more nimble. You don't have an ownership group of 17 people making a decision as a team leader. If you're just you or you and a partner, you can make your decisions a lot faster, both hiring, firing, marketing, budgeting, a lot of different decisions that need to be made in a timely manner. You can make them faster. And then the last thing on teams is what I see over the next 10 years is that you're going to have teams that are hyper-focused on different niches. So you'll have a team known for just selling condos downtown. And then you'll have a team that's known for working the luxury price point. And a team that's known, pick the demographic, golf courses. And you can own multiple teams that are all have that unique thing. But I feel like that's the brokerage of the future, where the consumer is going to demand more of a concierge service with people that are experts and specialists in one type of property, rather than just one person trying to be a commercial agent, a residential agent, an investment expert, a short sale expert. We try to do everything and then we suck at it all. I'd rather see somebody that's an expert in one thing. So my belief when I launched my team in 11, my goal was to have experts on our team. So if someone came to us wanting to do any of those things, commercial deal, new construction, short sale, any situation you could think of, I had a person or multiple people that they could choose from that are experts in just that thing.
Huh. That's great. I love that. We'll have to think a little more on that on our team. So, okay, we have some questions about that. So someone is asking what the first 3 things you would implement when starting a team.
This is part of Jeff's, if you go to jeffsbusinessplan.com, it's actually going to break it down. Number 1 is hiring an admin. So you need to have a full-time person doing all your paperwork. Your highest income producing activity is prospecting, not pushing papers. So typically you can hire a really great admin for about $30,000 to $50,000 a year, depending on the area you live in. My first admin I picked up at $30,000 a year for 40 hours of work per week. And they're doing all of the contract stuff, all the paperwork stuff, all the posting online, all the electronic back office operations. That's what they did full time. Once you've added an admin person, you need to have a solid process in place for training and accountability. Anyone you bring into your organization, you need to give them the ability to be just like you. They're not going to go pick up 100 books and listen to 1,000 podcasts and spend their life obsessing about how to become the best version of themselves. That's your responsibility as their leader to help them do that. And so you've already paved the way. They want to be like you. That's why they choose to join you. You have to have a vehicle to help them become more like you. And you do that through training and accountability. And in the beginning, you're the trainer, you're the accountability coach, you're the rock star agent, you're the motivator, you're every role except for the admin person. And then eventually you start adding agents and you hire a success manager. And then you add a couple more agents and you hire a trainer and you hire 5 or 10 more agents, and you're able to create what I call predictable revenue, where we actually used our broker fees. We charged our buyers and sellers $600 on the buy, $1,000 on the sell, every transaction, to 100% zero base all of our admin positions. So today we make over $400,000 a year in broker admin fees, which cover the cost of my entire admin staff. And then we were also able to zero base all of our marketing fees by creating marketing service agreements with home mortgage companies, inspection companies, home warranty companies, title companies, and insurance companies. And so we get around $12,000 a month now that goes towards our Boomtown platform, which generates Google ads, Facebook ads. We use it for Zillow. We use it for HomeBot and a myriad of other companies that help generate leads. And then we all share the leads in one place. So I've always believed agents should get paid out much higher than MREA prescribes. If you look at a typical market center that has the cap model attached to it, I really try to get my agents higher up in commission, but then I require them to collect a broker fee. I invite them to support the ancillary businesses that are paying for the lead generation. And so my belief was that if they were helping in all those things, we could get their pay up. And so my P&L is 70% of our gross commission income goes to agent commissions. This is pre-KW Elite, by the way. But 70% went to agent commission on our $3.2 million GCI last year. And 10% went to overhead expenses. And our overhead's so low because we're offsetting it by all those other things. And then I got to keep 20% as net profit.
Man, that's awesome. That's incredible. So, does anybody else have any questions for Jeff? I know we're all you've given us so much to think about. And I think I'm older than you, Jeff, maybe, but I definitely want to be like you when I grow up. So
I feel bad for everyone in your world.
No, and everybody that is on my team that's on this call is probably like, oh man, this makes so much sense. Why Lindsey likes him so much, because, I just
that's funny.
Want to be like, for sure. So tell us all how we can learn more from you, and so we can all be more like you when we grow up.
Yeah. So my whole mindset, why we started a coaching company, was I was getting hundreds of requests of people that wanted to come to our office. And that was back in our first 3 years in 2014 at an independent brokerage. We had gone from 70 to 240 sides. And a lot of people are like, wow, 240 sides. How'd you do that? Let's come visit. And then we hit the 350, then 425, then 6 something. And then our best year was 730 sides in 2017. And so we saw really quickly we need to have a formalized process to give people information and educate people nationally, just like people did for me. But people that hosted me had me in their office for an hour or two. They didn't really have a systematized way to download all the information. A lot of people don't even know why they're so successful, which was surprising to us. That was one of the patterns we found, was people didn't know how they grew to where they were. Because I always ask a true business person, if you ask them, how would you double your business in the next 12 months if I was willing to give you money? Most people can't tell you how they would do it, which tells me they don't know how to run a business. If you go to a Starbucks and say, how would you generate your revenue in 12 months if I was able to give you money, they'd know exactly where that money would need to go to double their revenue. And I can answer that question easily on all of the businesses that I own. If you can't answer that question, it's not a business, it's a job, right? If you're making a salary today, there's no way to use money to make more of a salary. You have to own it usually, or be in a commission space. So I went down a rabbit hole and now I'm lost.
I love that. So we want to know how we learn more from you, all the ways.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think so. We give a ton of free content away. Like I said, we had people at the workshop, then we started charging. So we have the team building workshop in Omaha every other month when it's not a pandemic. So we had to cancel, unfortunately, our March and our May event. We host a yearly event called the Team Building Summit, theteambuildingsummit.com. We still are on as of now, July 12th through the 14th. We expect that's probably going to get canceled. And then this fall, when things start coming back online, we'll be hosting workshops every month. The other way would be coaching. So we do agent coaching for $97 a month. It's 8 hours of content that's getting coached to our agents in our market center in Omaha. And then we record every training. We have a $50,000 studio, so we're not just using like a webcam that records all of our training events. That's $97 a month. You can cancel anytime. It's month to month. And we actually, I think we're giving away the first 2 months for free right now. And then there's a team leader product that's $9.97 a month. It gives your agents unlimited seats in this product for free into the agent training product. And then the team leaders get to be on a Thursday call, which I'm on now every Thursday. I don't know if you saw that, Lindsey. with Andy Cuny. We co-host every training. It's to think of like this episode today, but pick a topic. So we'll spend 4 weeks on lead gen, 4 weeks on lead conversion, goal setting, mindset. There's all the topics that help a team leader grow and scale a dominant business in their area.
Deep on tracking. That was amazing. Y'all did. We did Sisu because of you guys. And
oh yeah. That's awesome. Yep. So coaching to be in our world, come to a workshop, come to the summit. The virtual coaching is awesome, especially right now with everything that's going on. And I think we are giving away even the first month of the team leader coaching you get for free. So you can try it out, see if it's for you. Go to ersdemocall.com if you want to learn more about that. Or actually, my media people told me to tell you guys to go to Grow with ERS. Or no, ERS loves KW. I've got too many links in my brain. ERS loves KW. That's the link that I used when I was at Family Reunion. It still works. And I actually have my keynote on there. So if someone wants to download it and check it out, it's a pretty awesome keynote, which kind of tackles a lot of the challenges that we're going through today with everything changing and shifting.
Awesome. And then, of course, your team building podcast. They can find that. I listen to it.
iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or on our website. I'd say go out to eliterealestatesystems.com, click on podcast, give us your email address. And then that way, every time a new episode comes out, we'll just email it to you and you don't have to pay attention to any of those other sites. The cool thing about our email, I think they timestamp certain things. So it'll outline what gets talked about, but you could just go straight to it. I had this idea that we are going to do it. We haven't done it yet. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but our podcasts are typically 20, 25 minutes. You might not have 25 minutes, but you really want to listen to the podcast. So I want to do cliff notes. So I want to do podcast cliff notes. So you have a podcast that's 25 minutes, and then you have like a 5-minute broken down version of all of the biggest takeaways. So people could just listen to your mini podcast version. And so we'll have that rolling out here in a couple months.
Yeah, that's very cool. So if someone wants to get caught up and go through all of them, because you have a big history of podcasts on there. And I know any struggle that I have about, building my team or anything in real estate, I go straight to your podcast and look for it. And I always get great information. So,
thanks,
so Jeff, I cannot tell you how thankful I am for you doing this with us. You are so incredible. We've learned so much. And you really are my favorite. So I was really nervous before this because I felt like such a dork, but I was really nervous. So, but man, we've learned so much. I need 30 minutes to go back and just really process everything that I just learned. And so we can figure out how we can put it all into action in our business. And I know everybody else here is the same. So we're so glad. You guys.
Great questions.
Yes. Well, thank you. We're glad you're at Keller Williams with us now. And so that probably means we're going to get to learn so much more from you in the future and maps and all of that, which is awesome. So
thank you, Lindsay. And it was a pleasure to be here, you guys. And I hope you can tell I was authentic. I try to be myself. That's really important to me to come across that way. And I'm here for free as a favor to Lindsay and your entire group. And the greatest way you could say thank you would be to implement one of the things we talked about today in your world. Go and do one of the things. It was a lot, and I know it can come across a little much, but you don't have to do everything we talked about. Just do one thing. Change yourself in one little way. And I promise you that if you make that a habit in your life, just doing a small little thing every day, a little differently, you'll get it. There will be a big difference. And you just have to be willing to put a little bit of extra effort in. And I promise everyone will be happier for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love that, Jeff. You're amazing. And we wish you the best of luck with KW Elite. We know that's going to be super successful in all of your businesses as well. We're all going to be paying attention to how you do that. I know one thing too, you didn't touch on that a lot of us here have interest in. I know when you do your team building summit, you also have an investment day, right?
Yep. The second day.
Go to the investment day. So this is on my bucket list. So I will see you there some point in the next year when we get back to normal. But where we can learn about how you're investing. How many homes did you say you're buying a month? 10?
We buy 10 a month.
10 a month. So incredible.
Yeah, we're almost to 100. 100 doors was our goal. And then once we had 100, it's 1,000. And once we had 1,000, it's 10,000. That was the other thing. Gary said, where do you want to go? I said, 10,000 doors, 5,000 coaching clients, and 100 market centers. He's like, let's go. So that was the biggest reason, back to that KW ask, is Gary is a big thinker, and it's hard to find people that think like that. So being aligned in a company that has big thinkers that are there to protect the agent, keeping them at the center of the transaction as a fiduciary, using technology to support us, that's the future. That's what my keynote's all about. It's the hybrid office of the future. And so we're big believers in all of that. I created some links. So before you guys leave, if you want to go grab any of those links, those are some of the links I had referenced earlier. Digital marketing companies, some of the stuff we're doing there. You guys can reach out to us on any of that. If there's anything we can do for you, never hesitate to reach out.
We'll post that on our Market Center Facebook page, so everybody will have that, and all the people who watch it later. So thank you again, Jeff. We look forward to learning from you in the future, and we can't wait to see what your future holds so we can learn, and we can all learn to think bigger just to be more like you. So
thank you,
we
Lindsay.
appreciate it so much, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.